Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about Sinners. This is Ryan Coogler's latest movie, and I thought it was excellent. I went into this with middle of the road expectations, I'll say. I really like Fruitvale Station, his first film. I think it's my favorite of Ryan Coogler's by far. I like the Creed films well enough. Black Panther one was pretty good. And Wakanda Forever, I found rather forgettable, minus the Chadwick Boseman tribute. But for some reason, I was seeing the first trailer for Sinners, not the second trailer. I'll vent about that in a second. But that first trailer for Sinners that was in the IMAX format, where it was just that like noise, the whoop. I thought it was excellent. It had my curiosity piqued. I did not know what the movie was about at all. And I think that is how you should go into this movie. At this point, if you're watching this video, you probably know what the movie is about. But I had the pleasure of seeing it with people that didn't know what the movie was about, and that doesn't kick in for quite some time. So when it starts, they're like, whoa, is it this type of movie? And I think that's how the movie should be seen. Regardless, today I want to talk about everything I liked about the movie, any kind of like minor nitpicks I had. I'm going to do a spoiler-free review, kind of a mild spoiler review for those of you who know what the movie is about but don't want to know everything, and then a spoiler-filled review. So I'll let you know when we get up to there as we go. But first off, the movie stars Michael B. Jordan in two roles. He's playing Smoke and Stack. It also stars Haley Steinfeld and Jack O'Connell, but the movie essentially follows Smoke and Stack, two twin brothers that are trying to host a big jam, essentially, a big night for everyone in the community, and things go wrong. That's all I'm going to say at this point, all right? They're trying to host like a big music event. This newcomer, they're trying to have like a blues night, make some money, have like a big community gig, and shit goes very, very badly. And this movie is, I just want to say, I saw this in IMAX. This movie utilizes the IMAX format probably better than any other movie I've seen. I've seen a few movies in IMAX. I saw Dune Part 2. I saw Oppenheimer. This movie is the first time I've really been sold on that like big extended aspect ratio. There is so much time spent in that aspect ratio. So I would say if you're not seeing Warfare in IMAX, which I just covered, if you're not seeing Warfare in IMAX and you're not seeing Sinners in IMAX, and I mean proper, like the big aspect ratio IMAX, you are missing out. Like you are missing out on a substantial part of the movie, like literally. But what they do with the IMAX format here, I know I'm geeking out a bit, is remarkable. I don't want to give it away. I'll give it in the mild spoiler section because it's not a story beat, but like there's some things they do with the IMAX format here that are incredible. On top of that, I think the sound is great. I think the blood, the gore in this movie is so well done. I love it. I know this is a weird thing to say given the fact that like some black directors hate Quentin Tarantino and some love him, but this really did remind me of Django Unchained a bit, just in the terms of its scope, but also the film aesthetic look mixed with like the blood and the gore and the gunshot sound effects and the way the blood is presented in this movie. I thought it was so well done, and it was just so exciting to see a 2 hour, 20-minute movie that just is so gargantuan in its presentation. This is a big blockbuster, but it's also a big blockbuster that's been shot on film with all these incredible actors, everyone giving it their all. It takes its time. The first hour is setting up all these people. It takes place over one night, which was a pleasure to kind of figure out. It's all a setup to this one big explosive night. And when you get to the explosion, I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but when this night explodes in horrific ways, it was genuinely like breathtaking, like a breathtaking cinematic experience. So that is my full spoiler-free review. Now I'm going to give a bit of extra substance without getting into a full spoiler talk. So if you've seen both trailers at this point, you're fine. But if you don't want to know anything more, go see the movie. Now, for a little bit more, but not a full spoiler discussion, the second trailer, which I hate, gives away a few things. But the big thing it gives away is that this is a vampire movie. And in my opinion, this did not need to be revealed. That first trailer showed that there was going to be some weird out-of-pocket horror stuff. I thought it was people getting possessed by the power of music. And to an extent, that is what this movie is about. But why the fuck are you giving that away in the trailer? It takes an hour, maybe even longer, 90 minutes to get to the full-blown vampire stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing, marketing? And I know you need to do it to like get people in, but it just feels like such a shame. It reminded me of Companion, because Companion, I mean, you'll know it if you know what Companion's about, but like Companion, all the trailers were just like a weird, dark comedy romance. Go see it. And I'm like, sick. And then another trailer came out and told you exactly the big twist that came 30, 40 minutes in. I spoke to someone who didn't see any trailers and I told them that reveal was there and they lost their mind. I'm like, yeah, rightfully so. So with Sinners, why are you telling people that's a vampire movie? But regardless, most people know that now. And the vampire stuff is awesome. This this is full on vampire shit, by the way. So, still in my spoiler free bag, if you are seeing this for a vampire movie, it's great. They full on are following like the traditional vampire laws. They set up law at the start. They have the whole like they can only come in the room if they get invited in. So there's this tension of like, I know eventually they're going to get in because we're going to have a climax. How does this happen? So your brain is spinning. I also think this movie, like obviously this movie is very interested in black culture and black history and black art. And I think all of the stuff and the way it's visualized and explored, I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, is really interesting and thought provoking and genuinely really well done. I found it incredibly fascinating, and I'm really impressed that Warner Brothers has essentially let Ryan Coogler. They've given him a massive budget, all this IMAX like potential. They've really let him go wild for his passion project, and you can feel the passion dripping through the frame. It's just so exciting to watch someone basically get an unfiltered vision, and that is why it reminded me of Django Unchained a bit. There's that part in Django where you think the movie's over. I feel like you guys know it, right? There's that part where it feels like it's all wrapping up, and then you get like 30 minutes more of like action and out there. This movie feels like it ends 3 or 4 times, and this kind of sounds like a bad thing, but not at all. Because I was almost cheering. Like every time I thought the movie was over, I'm like, yeah, that was awesome. Well done. And then it would pick up again, and you got more stuff. And I'm like, amazing. And then you got more stuff. I'm like, amazing. And I love, you can just feel the passion. I'm really impressed with Ryan Coogler here because I thought he was like a solid director, like a quite a solid director. Now I'm seeing here being like, this is not even someone to watch out for. Like this is a big success. This is like a big statement movie. You know, it's one of the most positively reviewed blockbusters of this decade or something. I saw like it had 100% the other day. I saw it's making good money, and which I'm impressed by because this movie, in my opinion, my one nitpick was I thought that first hour. I normally love slow paced things and I love slow burns. But I felt like that first hour occasionally ran into slight pacing issues. But then at the end, the way it paid off everything and it all came together, I kind of had to redact that issue because while I was watching it, I was like, this isn't quite hitting the tension, say, Hateful Eight or that latter chunk of Django Unchained has where it's all dialogue, but you know it's getting somewhere. In the first chunk of Sinners, I was kind of seeing that being like, this all feels slightly, not all of it, but there were just moments where I was like, what was that about? I guess I'll see. But then by the end of the movie, everything came together so well, and I had such a good sense. The big thing I was impressed by with this movie is the sense of community and world building I felt by the end of the movie. So after this night gets involved with the vampires, after there is a body count, after things happen, I was seeing there being like, oh, I knew that guy was in love with this person, and that guy had a relationship with that person, and that guy just wanted to get home to this person, and that like I had such a good sense of community and an idea of what made all these people tick that the way the night went for certain people was actually sad. I felt bad for the main characters, Smoke and Stack, who were trying to put on this incredible night for the community. Watching the community get ravaged by vampires, I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. And it's pretty effective to have a vampire movie where you're obviously waiting for the vampire violence and then sitting there being like, oh, I actually kind of feel bad watching this. It was really, really well done. Now, I want to get into a full spoiler discussion. So the one last thing I'll say is I also think this movie works great as sort of a celebration of black culture and black music. I am obviously not the most qualified to speak on this, but I was just kind of impressed that we had such a big budget, big scale movie that was this unapologetically kind of worshipping this part of culture, this part of African American culture. It was nice. It was nice to see like a mainstream movie that was given this much support be championed. Like, genuinely, it was just good to see. And on top of that, you're getting like a really well made, exciting film that everyone's really enjoying. It never feels like it's talking down to you. It never feels like it's pandering. It never feels like it's taking safe options. This movie is bold and audacious, and it's so much movie in the best way possible. I love that we get 3 or 4 endings. I love that it just keeps going and just keeps moving and growing bigger and more chaotic. It's so exciting to just watch a movie that feels like it's made with passion and excitement in such a stale movie landscape sometimes. Let's get into a full spoiler discussion. Fucking hell. All right. So first off, going into the movie, people were like, oh, that one scene had my jaw on the floor. I left the movie being like, yo, which one? Because for me, there were like 3 or 4. I assumed the big one for everyone is the scene where the young singer is kind of like playing music, and the voiceover talks about this idea that music can kind of transcend time and act as like a bridge between past, present. But then we get future as well. So we have like this vision, almost this euphoric sequence where like an electric guitarist is summoned in, and there's like hip hop hi-hats going off and like trap music coming in, and like there are people twerking, and it's incredible. It's a beautiful, hypnotic, just it's something to behold. Like, it is genuinely like seeing it in IMAX and just watching the whole crowd be, it was interesting. We weren't perplexed. It was kind of like amazed, and it transcends into this moment where it's burning. Also, the next moment where I was like, is that the jaw on the floor moment? Is this moment where it transitions between IMAX ratios. So you've been waiting and waiting and waiting for the vampires to get in. You finally have this moment where the woman goes, I let you in, come in, fuckers. And you're like, oh shit. And the ratio literally expands the whole thing. Breathtaking. That's a real nerd one, but if you see it on IMAX, you'll know what I mean. It goes from this, and it doesn't just cut like that. It goes sick. Fucking awesome, man. Like, so cool. And I also thought Michael B. Jordan is on fire here, playing 2 roles incredibly well. Haley Steinfeld was fantastic here, by the way. Like, absolutely fantastic. I also thought this movie it was hot as fuck. It had this like sweaty, palpable sexual energy. I feel like there's always a sexual undertone with vampire movies, but even before the vampire came, this movie was like, it was very, very into that vibe. This movie felt intimate and like hot and very palpable. Like the violence and the gore, it felt like you could touch it. Everything felt real. It was just really well done. I also thought Jack O'Connell as the lead vampire was incredible. This movie's also very much exploring the relationship and the differences between Black culture and Irish culture. I think if you've seen Kneecap recently, weirdly enough, that also kind of bleeds into it a bit. The folk songs that Jack O'Connell sings are kind of a piss take and a bit of a joke, but then there's this scene where he's got a bunch of people as vampires and they're doing this Irish jig, and it looks also like this euphoric experience. It's incredibly fascinating. I also must say I love, obviously the vampires are representative of essentially like the white man wanting to steal and appropriate Black culture. They're trying to be let in, and these people don't want them in there, and they're like, you need to let us in. And they literally want to take the guy that's making this incredible music so they can transcend time themselves. And it's a very clear and obvious social commentary. And what I found interesting was at the start, they set up this story about the Ku Klux Klan, the fact that Smoke and Stack are buying the bar from someone who used to be Klan members. They say they used to be Klan members and the Klan is over. There's a point where the vampires, because they operate as a hive mind and they've taken over some of the Ku Klux Klan members, right? They tell him that the Ku Klux Klan were actually planning on coming and killing them, so they should join, and like they'll actually do them a favor and help wipe out the Ku Klux Klan and all this stuff. And initially you're like, is this just them lying? Is this the vampires being really seedy and manipulative? And then there's this incredible payoff after all the vampires have perished, where Michael B. Jordan actually prepares for the Ku Klux Klan to come, and because he's an ex-military soldier, just kills them all. And it's this incredible extra ending and payoff to what already felt like a really complete and well done movie. The one thing I will say is I wish we got more of the Native Americans. There's this scene where these natives go to some clan members' houses and are like, there's a dangerous guy, like a vampire, there's this dangerous presence running around. Like, do you know where it is? I would have loved them to come, but I guess it was just a little bit of a setup. But I felt like there was so much rich lore you could have tapped into there, and also so many like different cultures you could have explored. You had the Irish and the African American community going on. I think it would have been really interesting also, but I guess maybe that was just too much movie. But I just felt like to set that up and not pay it off was maybe slightly strange. Regardless, I just thought it was a really interesting idea that the vampires were actually telling the truth in that moment. They were actually being serious, and that was actual good advice. I also love the extra ending here. So the after credit scene, by the way, do not leave before the after credit scene, but the after credit scene here is a full on like extra 10, 12 minutes of movie. It felt like it went on for ages, but it's this incredible moment where it reveals that two of the vampires were left alive. One of the Michael B. Jordans and the more cheeky one, and Haley Steinfeld's character, both show up in like modern day attire and talk to the young blues singer who's now an old man. And I love this moment. I found it really poignant and beautiful where they both agree. The ones that were turned into the vampires and the only lone survivor that wasn't turned into a vampire or died. But yeah, there was something really poignant about both vampires, like the two remaining vampires left, and the lone surviving victim, essentially both agreeing that it was like the best night ever. And I found that really sad and moving because I don't know, like the main guy that wanted to put on this incredible night saw it as this incredible loss where he essentially accidentally led to the lives of his community being, taken. And I found that really sad. I also normally don't like movies that have really obvious flashbacks, like show the things that the characters are thinking back on. It's like, yeah, we saw this before. But for some reason in this movie, it really worked on me. So when Michael B. Jordan at the end of the movie, the blue one, the leader, is sitting there getting ready to take on the clan. All these members of the community are convinced to help out with this like night that what was meant to be a really great celebration of like art and culture and what was meant to be a great night for the community. And he's thinking back on how he essentially like convinced them to come and it cost them all of their lives. I actually found it really moving and sad, and it's weird to feel sad in a vampire movie, like, because obviously you're waiting for the vampires to show up, but I felt really, I think it managed to hit this moment of like, it conveyed the horror of having your culture taken away from you, and feeling like your whole community was fucked over. And obviously the vampires are serving as allegory for essentially the white man. And I found it interesting that we got the allegory with the vampires, but we also got the Ku Klux Klan. It sounds really overstuffed and convoluted as I'm saying it, but it's surprising and just incredibly well done. Like really well done in how it managed to hit all these beats and really land for me. And by the end of it, even those slight pacing issues I had at the start of the movie, I thought really came together. I loved the vision he was having as he was dying with his flesh wound of, him going to heaven to be with his woman and like the baby that passed away. I just thought it was excellent. I just appreciate seeing a movie that is so much movie. It felt, yeah, you don't see many other directors other than, I mean, Quentin Tarantino and maybe Nolan and a few others where they're given this scale and this level of money and just like unadulterated, unfiltered creative vision, and they're allowed to execute on it, like I really loved it. So go see Sinners. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Also, consider getting a membership to this channel. I talk about every single thing I've watched in a given month, both shows and movies. It's also, depending on the tier you get, you're able to vote for things on the main channel or vote for things I cover in the podcast, as well as a weekly show I will be covering for members only, or weekly movies. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a lovely day.